Exactly.
Coach, how has spring ball for your guys been, so far and almost halfway through?
Yeah, it's amazing that we are almost halfway through. After this next one, then we got spring break, so that'd be a test to see how guys actually come back. So I think we've had pretty much have everything installed of our base, and of course the older guys, the Tutus and Dez's and those guys, they get it. They're just working on the fine tuning of stuff. It's the young guys, they got smoke coming out of their ears right now, but individually they've done well in certain settings, and those settings are when they know what to do, they perform very well. It's kind of overwhelming a little bit, but they've done well.
How key was it? I mean, and Des just told us he had a lot of talks with you one-on-one and with his family, obviously, after the bowl game. How key is it for him to get that next step, or what is the next step for him?
I think it's a maturation process, and he's seeing himself as a player that can fine-tune some things and get better. He knows at the next level, if you watch the combine, some of these guys that are out there and what they're able to do with that extra year, that ability. So he's using this to figure out what can he work on and how he can get better. And he and Tutu battle every day. And good thing about Justin is he's a freakish athlete, and once we get him tuned up, he can make some plays, as you saw last year too. So that gives us 3 guys again that we can go to war with and develop some depth after that.
When you look at Dez, just knowing your NFL background, what do you think Dez needs to do to get to maybe a first round, second round time?
Well, that's extremely hard. I think for anyone in the first round as a receiver, it's very tough. That's a unique skill set that is going to require a great year by him, because it's just so hard to be in the first round. I think receivers traditionally are in that 3rd to 5th, and there's a lot of guys that fall to that point, depending on the year and depending on what people are looking for, obviously. But he has the ability to do that if he rises to the occasion, which we think he can, and he's very capable, as he's shown you throughout his career, that he shows the flashes of that. So we're excited about him doing that over an extended period of time, and that's what he's working on, how to be that guy, 24/7, and play without the ball, which he did well last year, and have a skill set that will help him in the next level. But he wants to help us win a championship here first, and that's the reason that he stayed.
There were some times last year where he just almost didn't get targets. Is it higher emphasis to get him the ball a little bit more, you think, this year?
Oh, absolutely. It just got to be whether the ball took it away from there by the coverage or what we had going at that particular point. So we ran the ball well, and we threw the ball well with play action last year. So we're going to make sure that he stays involved, and he's one of our horses, so we got to make sure he gets fed. And how that is, we'll move him around. He'll play different positions. But right now we're trying to get guys just to learn their position. And you'll see him in the slot. You'll see him at both receivers outside. He has the ability to do that, not only mentally but physically.
Same with Tutu. What do you work on now with him in the spring to take that next step forward?
Well, every day we have an improvement board. So the older guys, they get it. They're working on real finite things that they put on the board that they want to work on. The younger guys, obviously, are trying to absorb the offense and trying to play faster and just do it that way. So with him, it's the same way. You're trying to pick out little details for him to work on every day and get better, because he is so fast that he's able to get by the defense, so he's got to work on how to avoid people, because they're going to try to get their hands on him being smaller. And that's hard to do because he's hard to hem up. And that's a good thing for him. But just little tricks and little things, studying guys in the off-season that are, similar to him, the guy Kansas City that way, and what fits his skill set, and try to study some of those guys has been his project.
Coach Satterfield said at one point, I think, when he got here, he didn't know a lot about him, and he looked and was like, I can't wait to get this kid the ball. Do you remember when you first kind of watched and saw him, what you thought of him?
Yeah, because he is very slight. He's a 5'9", 160-pound guy, but he's tough as a $2 steak. That kid, he doesn't mind running up inside. He catches the ball over the middle. He's got the ability to do a lot of different things. I mean, he probably has one of the better arms that we have on the team, to be honest with you. He throws a great ball. I mean, a great ball. But obviously he's vertically challenged, so you sit behind, Becton at 6'8". That's a tough gig. But he can run the ball. He got so many things in his wheelhouse that he can do. He doesn't let his size determine any of that. So he overcomes a lot of things by speed, quickness, ability, smarts, and we're going to find ways to get him the ball, obviously.
This time last year, those were the kind of things you were learning about your team and your players. So how much different and better, I presume, as a second time around for both coaches and players.
Well, it is. That's a great point. That second time around, now that we know how the car drives and how fast it can go and what it can really do, now let's put it out there in the Autobahn and test it even more. Let's open it up a little bit. So, but our offense is conducive for that guy in that position. So we're going to make sure that we continue to do what we do, and that's running the football first. So we've done a tremendous job of that. And the big plays come off of play action. When you don't have to throw the ball, that's the best time to throw it. And that's where he was really dangerous. But any receiver at that point is.
Who are some of the younger guys that have stood out to you so far in spring ball?
Well, he's young to the program. He's not necessarily young age-wise. Braden has probably been the biggest flash of the guys that are new here for the point that he's done a lot of good things early, shown a lot of body quickness and been able to help us in some spots, playing a couple multiple positions. And, you know, that's a guy behind 2-2, but he's also plays the Z. And then past that, you know, Dez's brother is a big target who had a huge day the other day. You know, he's such a big target and a mismatch for guys. Once he learns how to use his body and his skill set is unique. And then, you know, Corey came back, you know, from a year, and he's shown some things. Unfortunately, you know, we hadn't get to see as much of him in the scrimmage situations, but we will. We will in the near future. So, you know, there's some guys there that we're looking forward to seeing, and as we go through spring, and hopefully they'll develop and wait on the next crowd that comes in, the freshmen and the other guys that come in June.
When you were recruiting Braden, did you envision the multiple? I mean, that he could play a couple of different positions and be versatile?
We did. You know, you watch his tape from high school, and he was a high school quarterback, much like Tutu was. Now, he didn't throw it that well as Tutu, but he ran that well, and he made people miss, and he went to a high level in the SEC, and, you know, he just in an offense that wasn't conducive for him where they played a slot receiver. So, actually went to my old junior college, and they did real well, and you saw his skill set as a returner and as a slot and as a Z, and, you know, those things. So we knew that coming in, that he could be that role player for us to spot in several places and also help us on teams.
How's Justin been? You mentioned a little bit, but kind of how has he been kind of getting some more reps up there on his top two?
Very good. I know Coach Ponce is very excited about him, as well as you saw some of the flashes last year with his ability. He's getting reps, and his maturation process has been really good, where he's getting better feel for the offense and kind of really settling in and you know, earn himself a position and a lot of reps. So hopefully you'll see a lot of him in the near future. He's a big target. He's strong, fast, and he's a great kid to be around.
Quarterbacks and wide receivers have mentioned that they didn't really take much time off after the bowl game. They kind of got right back to kind of continuing their reps, keeping their chemistry up. How important do you feel like that is for you guys, with the expectations people have?
Yeah, I think that's everything, especially coming out of, you know, an NFL situation where watching a season, how the familiarity with a quarterback, how important that is. You know, those guys, the nuances, every one of those guys are different. Dez runs different than Marshall does, and of course Tutu runs different than those guys do, and how they come in and out of breaks. So the ability to get indoors and do stuff on their own and bring the young guys with them, you can always tell. We already had a much better first start of spring practice with guys because they know where to go, know what to do, and that's guys that hadn't been here. So they bought in already, just being here short 3 or 4 months, really.
You mentioned that with the continuity of all the coaches and players, that you want to kind of open up the offense in year two. What do you think is the ceiling for this offense heading into this season?
Well, I think anytime you can stay injury-free, if we stay that way and keep the first 5 up there offensive line-wise, you know, it was obviously a huge loss with the left tackle. I mean, he's a first-round guy. I mean, you know, that's a very special player. I know everybody's seen him, but to really appreciate when you look back on some of the things, you go, wow. You watch the cut-ups, and you just see a guy like that play. He'll be hard to replace, but we can get 5 up front that can play together, and quarterback continues to grow and things of that nature. We're very talented at the running back position. You know, I just see us going sky's the limit, really. It comes down to execution to see how good we want to be, really, how fast you want to drive that car. You know, do you really want to make that turn at 110? You know, how fast you want to get around that sucker. So, you know, it's NASCAR to me. I mean, hey, if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing, so let's go.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, Rocco.